Hello, everybody, and welcome to COVID Conversations. My name is Gillian.
And I'm Sheena.
And we are your hosts for today. Today we have Wellbeing Talks. So Wellbeing Talks will give you everything you need to kind of situate yourself given the current climate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've definitely myself experienced, I've struggled with this year. So I'm really particularly interested in this particular workshop this evening, simply because I know we are all feeling it in some way or another. So we really hope that this workshop is going to be so helpful for you, just to help you navigate through these changing times. So yeah, we'll start off our workshop, and we're going to start and head over to Rhyana.
So Rhyana, we're going to add you in.
Thank you. Hello everybody, welcome to the Wellness Talks. So first of all, thank you guys for joining in. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Power of 7 Ultimate Wellness Guide, okay, and how to create a personalized self-care toolkit. So what we're going to cover is a short introduction of myself. We're going to explain what self-care actually is and what it actually isn't, how to choose yourself, and also a little bit about the Power of 7 guide that I created to help you during these times as well. How you can build your own self-care toolkit, and a little bit of food for thought. So my name is Rhyana. I'm the founder of Plan Wholesome Empowerment Group, which is a venture to support people to build resilience from within. And how that looks is that we support you to build self-confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, and self-image. I do this through a lot of workshops, coaching, mentoring that I do as well. My day job is I'm a human rights advocate. So I support people to navigate through society and access the services that they need. So self-care is the intentional activities and actions you take to look after yourself. So a lot of the time we can think of self-care as a lot of fluffy things and, you know, being able to just take bubble baths. But in all honesty, self-care is in order for you to thrive at your optimum ability. Okay, so what self-care isn't, it's not a disregard for your needs or values or morals. Self-care is not a fixation or overindulgence or neglecting your responsibilities. It's not an addiction to self. A lot of the time, self-care can be misunderstood. So this is why I've kind of put together this presentation to help us get the right definition of self-care. Why do we need self-care? So it's important because it allows you the space, time, and concentration to focus on your needs and emotions. So a lot of the time with how things are going, with all these changes, we've not been able to actually sit down, focus, and understand what this entirety, it can be a very difficult process. In the presentation here, you can see that it involves light and shadow work. And what that means, like I said, is it's the surface level things, but also deep explorative work is needed as well for you to enjoy those light-hearted actions that you take for yourself. And sometimes it can bring up a lot of unresolved issues. So self-care is actually dealing with the demons as well as enjoying yourself as well. So a little tip here, balance is key. Balance is the key. So self-care can be surface level, the tender actions that you take towards your wellness, but it also is the deep level explorative work that we need to do, and it is necessary to have that. Something that I've kind of thought about along this time is how we as people have become feeling like we're in a bit of a victimhood mind state, and we want to turn that from victimhood to victorious and being able to build that resilience. So the next slide here, we're going to be talking about choosing yourself. And Socrates talks about the secret to change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. My phrase is be scared and do it anyway. Because sometimes we can, talk ourselves out of doing something that we know is positive for us. But it's about having that leap of faith in yourself to make those scary decisions, embark on your journey for change. I recommend always that people have something or someone or somewhere that is familiar to them when they're embarking on a journey of change, because that's your emotional security net and your point of reference. You're able to direct that destination of healing or of recovery or change that you're trying to seek for yourself. Many of you may have heard about the pre-contemplative stage, contemplation, all those kind of different stages. And what this image here depicts is the emotional stages that you kind of go through. And as you can see from the bottom of the step, the person's kind of saying, I actually can't do this, I can't do it. But having the power to choose just that one necessary step, it allows you to propel yourself through that journey of change all the way to the top, whatever that may look like to you. But being able to say, I actually did it, I'm proud of myself, and I've got here. That's what the real goal is in life, really, is self-actualization. So I've kind of thought of the four stage model for this, and I call it the 4P process. Okay, so resilience is the ability to cope when things go wrong, simply put. Okay, so being able to bounce back from the difficulties we're all facing, like we've so rightly seen that there's been so much upheaval, so much change, so much uncertainty. This is actually helping you build an armor of confidence, unshakable strength, and knowledge of yourself in order to build strong connections, not only with yourself, but with other people. So it's looking at the silver lining that you've been presented with and looking at things from a different lens. So my 4P process is the emotions, thoughts, and actions are all within your power to take control in that moment. You also have the ability to learn to take up space and be comfortable in your position. Thirdly, I encourage you to honor the pledge that you make. Lastly, I advise you to protest against any ill treatment and accept nothing less than greatness. And that's even from yourself as well, because if you make certain promises to yourself, abide by them. You know, that's showing up for yourself, and that's actually bringing forth your resilience armor. So we're going to move on to the actual power of 7. So the number 7 actually holds so much meaning, and it's down to mathematics, science, spirituality, and just in our common surroundings. So you may have heard the 7 chakras, 7 continents, 7 days of the week. 7 is actually the most memorable number, and it's a spiritual prime number as well. So I created the Power of 7 guide in the frame that 1, it will be memorable. 2, you can do it across 7 days. 3, you can actually pick your own types of wellness activities that are suitable for you and, you know, make you feel complete and make you feel whole. Again, 7 is the number known for completion. So we'll move on to the first aspect that I developed. So healthy snacks or guilt-free healthy eating is really important. One of the things I've kind of found is that the Office of National Statistics has actually been submitting the British public some weekly opinions and lifestyle surveys. And what it found was that each week, people are feeling more and more in control of their ability to change their diet as the time has gone on throughout this pandemic. 37% of adults have mentioned that they felt it lasted longer than they expected. However, they have been able to adopt an upside to it and appreciate the little things that matter in life, such as eating good. So with this, I kind of encourage people to pick 7 simple, guilt-free, easy to make meals or snacks that allows you to get good nutritional balance, but also is not strenuous on your time. So the next factor I looked at was uplifting songs. Now, I am a music lover. I know that that's my go-to all the time, all day, every day. And music is the language of emotion. A lot of the time, people don't know that you play music that imitates your emotions. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you listen to positive, uplifting music that boosts your emotions, boosts your soul and moving, because a lot of the time we can listen to, you know, sad, quite depressive music and we'll end up feeling and staying in that state. But if you want the music to build you up and boost you up, it can actually elicit the feelings that you want to feel. Next thing I looked at was how we've been dressing during this pandemic. A lot of us have been working from home, and I'll put my hand up to it. I've been in the, you know, the Zoom room, pajamas on the bottom half and, you know, work on the top half. But yeah, changing up your look can actually really help the process of change. And when you look good, you feel good. So even if your outfit of the day has been sitting in your onesie, maybe switch up the onesie a bit, get some loungewear and, you know, just make a little bit of an effort for yourself, not for anyone else other than yourself, because you'll realize how much actually does boost your mood. Next area is connection. Now, again, us as individuals, we cannot thrive in isolation, which is why this solitude season has been a bit difficult for us all. We thrive off of connection, we thrive off of belonging, and we thrive off of being part of a family, in a relationship, or part of a community. So what new connections have you made during this solitude season? And notice I'm calling it solitude, not isolation or lockdown, because again, reframing is what I do. I will make it work for me, and solitude is what this has actually brought me, an opportunity to be at solace with myself. And I encourage you to reframe your thinking on these times that we're facing as well. Connect with people as much as you can. Thing I would say, exercise. Now, yeah, it's one of these things that we can find it difficult to grasp a really good routine, but something that this Power of 7 guide encourages you to do is pick 7 of your most recognized and well-used routines. Do it for 1 minute and create a quick 7-minute workout plan that you can do every day. It's not strenuous, it gets you active. And once you feel more comfortable doing it, you're actually able to maybe do it twice in a day or repeat it quite a few times. Again, something that I found with the Office of National Statistics is that they have introduced or they've been propelling the government's agenda of the 5 ways of well-being, which is be active, take notice, learn, give and connect. And this is kind of also embedded in this as well. So the World Health Organization actually recommends 30 minutes of exercise for adults and 1 hour for children. So think about that when you're looking at how you're developing your go-to self-care toolkit as well. Fitness helps you with depression, anxiety, pain and loneliness, actually helps strengthen your body and can improve your self-esteem as well. The next is my favorite, positive affirmations. Now, I can't show you my room right now, but if you was to ever come to my house, I've got affirmations literally everywhere. I've even got affirmation around my neck. Yeah, it's a constant reminder that positive statements that you recite to yourself can help you through struggling times. So I found here a few of that over this pandemic, and I use positive words such as I am safe because I know that I can keep myself safe. I have the ability to do so. There's another one here that says I'm able to withstand storms because that brings about the strength and resilience that I'm able to bring to myself, my family, and being able to get through these tough times. I'm taking action through my responsibility to keep safe and grounded. Now, a lot of the time, these times can have us all emotionally elevated, but knowing that you have the ability to ground yourself is so important. And my favorite one, I'm content with myself and my health because I'm in control of that. And that's something that I am able to change if I see the trajectory downsliding. Next is incense, oils, or scented candles. So how often do you actually stop to smell the roses? Now, the reason why I ask you that is certain smells are proven to lift your mood and they can help you overcome stressful situations. They are so beneficial to your emotional health. We need to start using them more, and just walking into a room that is fragrant can lift your mood so significantly and instantly. This is why I've embedded it in the Power of 7 tools. I use incense or essential oils or candles every single day throughout this whole pandemic. I've even had to have them delivered to my house because, not being able to go out and stuff, but being able to just have that uplifting scent all the time throughout the day is so needed, absolutely needed. So that's the Power of 7. So looking at those different aspects, start thinking about what in that you could mirror for yourself, okay? It's used to be for a guide. It doesn't have to be set in stone like that. And this is where I'm going to move on to the next bit about building your own toolkit. So what tools do you use, or what tools do you need to begin this journey, of whether it's of change, of healing, of resilience? So I'm going to go through some of the bits that I feel that I've needed to know. One of the first things I would say is know your needs. It is your needs, it's your hierarchy. From the bottom upwards, know what your physiological needs are. Do you need water? Do you need shelter? Do you need warmth? Are those needs being met? Are they really being met? And the next level is safety, emotional, mental, financial safety. Again, right now, things are a bit rocky, but if that's something you need, look into that and implement that into your self-care toolkit. The next aspect is loving and belonging. Do you need care? Do you need intimacy? Do you need acceptance? And again, a lot of these things have been disconnected for us quite recently. So I encourage you to make those strong connections where you can and embed that in your self-care toolkit. In turn, this can help build your self-esteem, confidence, and feeling a bit more respected. But again, getting to that point of self-actualization, that can only be defined for you. So when I say my needs, my hierarchy, it's the same for you. What are your needs and how is that put in your hierarchy? Next thing I'll say is, I call it my stress selves. If I can't deal with it now, put it on the shelf and come back to it later. Honestly, it's not going to go anywhere. And just deal with the things that are immediate and needed for you right now, okay? A lot of the time we try and handle all these things, and I like to call it fine china, but you don't want to drop the plates. You don't want to drop the china. Just put it down, put it on the shelf, come back to it later. Helpful tips. So change is inevitable. And I think that normalizing these conversations is what kind of needs to happen, because being able to understand that change is something that can bring about, finding joy in every moment, you are allowing yourself to be open to possibility. When you're open to possibility, that's you getting a level of acceptance, because you've got a choice of informed decisions. So once you're able to accept, you're able to let it go, as you can see there. Right down at the bottom, I think this is one I want to highlight, because think about mindset. And I've tried to say this a few times, but that acronym THINK is so important to me. So THINK stands for, is it thoughtful? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? If it's none of those things, then I'll be honest, it's not worth your time. It's not worth your energy. It's not worth your emotions. When you're going through this change journey, remember, think thoughtful, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind when you're doing all of these actions. Even when you're implementing your self-care toolkit, think about the benefits that it's going to have for you. Is it thoughtful on your body, on your family, on your spirit? Is it helpful, all of the things that you're going to be embarking on? Like I said, going back to the needs, is it helpful for your needs? Is it inspiring? And again, being able to build this resilience, build this armor of unshakable strength, you have to be inspired to do so. And is it necessary? Sometimes we'll do the bare basics, the bare minimum, but is it actually necessary for us to do it? Think about that as well. And I'll always say kindness and compassion work hand in hand. So think about how you're being compassionate to yourself as well. I advise you always to be well informed and be prepared as possible. So get as much information about how you want to develop your self-care toolkit as best as possible. And if needs be, use the skills that you've used before, because we have them for a reason and they can be transferable and adapted to these kind of situations. And again, that's how you build your resilience, because you're able to find your superpower, your super strength, and apply it in these kind of situations as well. Another aspect here is working through change builds resilience, and remembering that you are bettering yourself for you, because at the end of the day, why would you choose to change? The last thing I have to say is, remember I said right at the beginning, call it solitude season, not lockdown, not isolation. It's just kinder to me. So I invite you to think of 10 things that you can reflect on that you may want to change, you may want to improve, but the 10 things I have here are the emotions that you're feeling, who you have in your life, the things you want for yourself, the past you can heal from, the future you can create, the person you aspire to become, the legacy you want to leave, the environment that you're living in, the things that trigger you, and the love that you need in your life. All of these things can be something one or all of us have experienced during this time, or it's been brought to our awareness that we need to pay more attention to, be more mindful to. So if this is something that has resonated with you, throw it in your self-care toolkit and see how best you can develop a plan, a nice action plan to increase this for your own well-being. And my last slide here is just a way that you can connect with me. If you're having any struggles, any upheavals, you need a bit of advice, I provide self-care toolkits, advice and guidance around that as well. So if you need to get in touch with me, this is how you can do so.
But yeah, really great information there. I really enjoyed the hierarchy of needs. I remember studying that similar concept in college, I believe. So yeah, it's really good to kind of adapt and make it personal for yourself.
Yeah, an amazing talk, Rhyana. That was such a wonderful talk. Thank you so much for those tips. There were so many gems there. We definitely had our pen and paper taking notes, so thank you.
Good stuff, good stuff. No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. Hope you all got what you needed out of it.
Perfect. Great. So we'll head over to Jericho now, and I'll pass the floor on to Jericho. So let me.
So while we wait for the slides to load, I just want to say thank you to Sheena and Gillian for inviting me here. I'm super excited to share this presentation with you, and also thank you to Rhyana for the last presentation. That was super insightful and very valuable, and I love the work that you do. So thank you for that. So first of all, my name is Jericho Bulaun. I'm a transformational coach. I have the opportunity to work with people to facilitate a transformation in their lives so that they get to a place of personal success to create a life that they love living. And when I was asked to do this talk today, the focus was asked to be around COVID and the pandemic and the things that we're experiencing now, right? These kind of challenging times, the effect that it has on us, and the idea that we can, or how can we create a healthy mental state for ourselves. And so I've titled this presentation, Anchoring in the Present. The things that I'm going to be talking about are how adversity shakes the frame of our mind, things that we can shift our focus on, I'm going to mention some mindful practices that I feel are useful for us to get into, and things that some practical things that we can do to be able to facilitate these things for ourselves. I'm gonna give you one major point that I really believe is the foundation, is the key for cultivating a healthy mind, and then I'm going to walk you through very, very quickly an exercise which I'm calling triggers to the present, which will become evident to you what it is later on. So with all of that said, my intention for this presentation today is to shift you into a place where you can start creating for yourself a healthy mental state. Now, this is going to mean something different to everyone, and I want to be able to do that for you, or at least put you in that place, right? I can't necessarily do it for you, but I can help you get there. And so that's my intention for today. And if you take anything away from this presentation, then it would be how we can do that. And I wanted to use this image, right, to remind you that this is your mind in its natural state, right? This is your mind in its natural state. It wants to be still. It wants to be peaceful. It wants to be calm. It wants to be clear. And it wants to be almost untouched, right? But what you're probably saying to me right now is, Jericho, this isn't really what my mind looks like. This is not how I experience my mind. This is not what I'm experiencing in life. You're probably saying it's a bit the opposite of this. It's messy, it's shaken, it's disturbed. The water might be murky. Maybe the bucket is empty or half empty, or however you want to describe it. And so with all of those things, the question comes up, what do I do about that? Right? The question is, what do I do when the bucket starts to leak? What do I do when it's starting to be shaken? What do I do when the water is a bit unclear? And this is almost the trick. This is the trick of our ego. Our ego says we need to be doing more things. And so if you move to the next slide, please. What happens is we are pulled all the way into our head, right? We're pulled all the way into our head. And when the question comes up and says, what can I do about this? You can start to see now the water's a bit dirty, and you start to add things in, right? You start to look at other people and say, how are these guys filling up? Like, their bucket is empty, but they're filling it up somehow. How are these guys doing it? Where can I go? Who can I meet that is going to help me fill this thing up, right? And we start to add things from different people that don't actually belong in our bucket. They don't belong there. These feeling of lack, the feeling of fear, guilt, the expectations of others, the opinions of others, the shame, the vulnerability that we feel, right? These things don't belong in our bucket, right? Our bucket is what it was on the last slide. It should be calm, peaceful, still. That's the state that your mind wants to be in before you start adding these things in, right? So this is where we end up. We end up with something that is quite disturbed. It's unclear. It's incoherent, right? Incoherent is, this idea that it's out of phase, out of balance of something. And so when we get pulled into the mind and we ask ourselves, what do I do? This is what starts to happen. We start to focus on the possible loss of something or things, and we start to focus on the limitations that we experience, right? Now, especially in these times with COVID, the pandemic, and this isolation period, as Rhyana put it, right? We feel like we don't have control of how we're supposed to be feeling. We don't have control of it, because how am I supposed to be happy when this is happening in the world? How am I supposed to be peaceful? How am I supposed to find calm? How am I supposed to be well when all of these things are happening, right? And like Rhyana mentioned before, we take that kind of victim mindset, right? So especially in these times, we feel like we don't have any control of how we're supposed to feel. And it's just like this. If I told you to, if I came to you and I gave you this big barrel, this big bucket, this big tub filled with water, and I came to you and I said, I don't care what happens to this bucket or its contents. I just want you to run as fast as you can, 100 miles a minute. I want you to run at 100 miles a minute. And first of all, that's humanly impossible, right? As far as I know, that's humanly impossible. But what would you do? you would do everything that you could do to move that fast, and you wouldn't care about this bucket. You wouldn't care about the bucket, the tub. You wouldn't care about what's in it. You might drop it, you might drag it, you might kick it along. But the fact is that you wouldn't care because you're prioritizing moving that fast. You're prioritizing moving that fast. And so that's the point, right? Is that we're not paying attention to the bucket itself. And so in these times, it's empty, it's messy, it's unclear. We're not paying attention to what we're doing to ourselves. We're not paying attention to what is actually happening to our state of mind. So the thread that is going to tie this whole presentation together, and if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. The thread that ties this whole presentation together is this idea of slowing down. Because what actually happens if I came to you and I gave you this big bucket and I then said, I want you to take care of this bucket and its contents. I don't care what you do. I don't care where you go. I don't care who you meet. I want you to take care of this bucket. What would actually happen is you would walk very, very slowly, being mindful of this thing that you're carrying, right? So this idea of slowing down is what's going to tie this whole presentation together. 3 things, right? I've identified 3 things that I believe we can start to shift our focus on so that we don't listen to our ego of doing. We have to do more. And we start to focus on who we are being, right? Shifting our focus from doing to being. And so the first thing that I feel like we should be, or we have the opportunity to focus on, is focusing back into the body. And I want you to notice I've said back into the body, because when we're pulled up into our heads, we're only using a fraction of the information that we're being presented, right? Your head is even like physically, right? Your head's like this and you have the rest of your body. And so if you're listening only to this part of your body, there's going to be something missing. But this is what happens when we're faced with challenging times and difficult times and times of adversity. We only pay attention to what's between our ears. And so if we can pull ourselves back down into our body and learn to really listen to what our body is telling us. How am I feeling right now? Where are those feelings taking place? And when you can slow down enough to ask yourself these questions and feel into what you're feeling, rather than ignoring it and going to do something else because you feel like the doing is going to fill a hole, fill the bucket, right? When you can focus on what you're feeling, it's going to enable you to slow down, and then it's going to really put you in a position of, okay, working with all the information that you have available to you right now, which is not just in your head, but also in the rest of your body as well. So that's the body, right? Learn to listen to your body. The second thing that we can focus on is the fact that in any given moment, there are endless possibilities. So before, when we were running at 100 miles a minute, we focused on the possible loss of something, and we focused on the limitations that we experience in life. And so when we shift that focus into, in this moment right now, there are endless possibilities. And the ones that I pay attention to are the ones that I'm going to experience. And it's almost like this point that Rhyana made in the previous presentation about these affirmations. The more that you say these things, you will start to experience them, right? It's a similar type of thing. The more you focus on the possibilities, you will experience more opportunity. And so rather than focusing on the loss and the limitation, you focus on the possibilities. And again, that gives you enough space to slow down, to actually look at what is real and say, okay, now I'm in a better place to approach and to address what is happening. And with both of those things, the last thing that we can focus on, the last thing that is probably the most useful, right, is focusing into the now. Now, what do I mean by that? Right? That might sound a bit fluffy. Well, we spend most of our, or a lot of our mental space and energy in the past, reimagining something, right? Remembering something from the past. And we send a lot of our energy and a lot of our attention into the future, thinking about something that could happen or that could have happened. If I do this, this is going to happen, right? So we send all of our energy to the past and to the future. And so what that does is it drains us from actually having energy and attention and awareness in the now. It stops us from doing any of that. And when you're focusing on the past and on the future, you're living at a place that isn't here right now. You're living in a place that's not here. And so when you focus into the now, you can fully address what is happening right in front of you. And you can fully address, once you check back in with your body and once you check back in with the possibilities, you're in a better position to, again, address and approach the things that are happening. And so all of these things, if we can learn how to implement them into our lives through some sort of practice, then these things all enable you to slow down, and they enable you to start to lay the foundation of a healthy mental state. And I want you to imagine right now, if you can imagine, you know, if you're standing like in the middle of some sort of timeline, or not timeline, but just an axis, right? You're standing in the middle of this axis. Anything that happens is going to try and knock you either way into the extremes of your emotion. And when you do these three things and make them a practice, you are more able to stand in the middle and not be moved by things that happen. They're just things that you experience, right? So with all of these things that we can shift our focus on, probably you might be asking how. Like, it might make sense, but what can I actually do to be able to do these three things? And when we move to the next slide, I'm going to be talking about some practices that enable you to do these things that might be easy for you to do. And if you can find enough time to do them, or if you make enough time to do them, then they will be valuable for you as well. So if we move to the next slide, please. There are some practices that I'm going to mention. I'm going to mention three. And there are many, many more that are super valuable. But for me personally, these are things that I've been using, and they're very, very effective. Now, meditation, right? It doesn't always have to look like this, first of all. It doesn't have to look like sitting down on the floor, cross-legged, with your hands in a very specific position, sat in front of a beautiful sunset, and probably chanting something. She might be chanting something, we don't know. But it doesn't have to look like that, right? Your meditation doesn't have to look like this. Your meditation could be the walk to your car in the morning. It could be it could be sat with your eyes closed, just while you're waiting for your car to warm up. It could be the walk to the bus stop. It could be the commute on the train. It could be anywhere. But the idea is, and I found this beautiful definition of meditation, the Tibetan word for meditation is gompa, which means to familiarize. And so the idea is there that meditation is not about clearing your mind and thinking of absolutely nothing. Meditation is about familiarizing yourself with yourself. So the more that you can observe where your thoughts are, and you can observe how you're feeling, the more it puts you in a better place to approach the things that are happening in your life, approach the things and address the things that you are experiencing, right? So that is a beautiful definition of meditation, to familiarize yourself with yourself. And like I said, you can do this anywhere. It doesn't have to be a seated meditation like this, although that is a great way to do it. And there's another quote that I really love. You can meditate, or you should meditate, for 20 minutes a day. And if you're too busy, then you should meditate for an hour. And the idea is there that if you're not prioritizing yourself because you're too busy, then you're going to find that you get drained a lot quicker, right? So prioritize yourself to familiarize yourself with yourself, if that makes sense. So the next one I want to mention is breath work. And to put this quite simply, breath work is an ancient practice that has been kind of re-popularized recently. And if you think about it, right, it's the thing that gives us life. If we stop breathing, we die. And so the simple act of focusing back onto your breath, again, enables you to slow down and actually it's not just about a spiritual practice that has been passed down for years and years and years. There are kind of scientific benefits for this too, right? Different techniques activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which lowers your blood pressure, slows down your heart rate, and it actually reverses the effect of this fight or flight response. So it reverses the effect of the release of cortisol and adrenaline and all those things. So using your breath in a way that can reverse those things is another way of shifting you out of your head and back into your body, slowing down, and actually being able to approach what is happening in front of you. And the last one I wanted to mention is journaling. Journaling is such an easy thing to do. If you can find the time to sit and write what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And there are two things there, right? The actual act is therapeutic itself, but then when you read back, you almost get feedback of your own life. And then you can start to acknowledge maybe some patterns that are coming up, some things that you're feeling that you haven't really thought of before. And when you can look back at these things, it helps you to identify maybe some things that you haven't acknowledged before. So it's a really good practice to have. And of course, like I mentioned before, there are many, many different practices that you can implement. These are just the three that I find really useful. So if we can move to the next slide, please. So like I said, the thing that ties this whole presentation together is this idea of slowing down. And if you take one thing away from this presentation, this bottom line that you can see here: live at the pace of life, not at the pace of thought. So another kind of maybe silly example, there's a newborn baby, right? And someone says, oh, imagine in 3 years' time that baby's going to be starting school. It's just like, wait a minute, let me enjoy the life of my baby. Let me enjoy, they've just been born. But this is what we do to ourselves, right? We age ourselves, we put ourselves so far into the future, and actually life doesn't happen that fast. Have you ever tried to plank for like a whole minute? That minute goes really slowly, right? So if you can remember to live at the pace of life, not at the pace of your thoughts, it's an amazing practice to have, and it's really effective. It really helps you to trigger yourself into the now and remind yourself that actually life isn't happening that fast. And some of these questions that I've put around might be helping as well. How do I feel right now? What is my body telling me? Who am I being? Am I in any immediate danger, right? So you can ask yourself these things and have this conversation in your head to kind of see if you're being present or not. And if we move to the last slide, as I mentioned, I wanted to take you through a very simple exercise that I'm calling Triggers to the Present. And it's very, very simple. I want you to think of a moment in your day that is a routine for you. So you might wake up and go straight to the bathroom, brush your teeth or whatever you do, or you might go straight to the kitchen and make a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, whatever it is. And a lot of those things we do on autopilot, right? And the exercise is, can you choose a point in your day that you're going to make a trigger to the present? So rather than going about your day on autopilot, you're going to say, okay, the next time I go to the kettle, I'm going to remind myself to be here right now. And I'm going to be present when I'm filling up the kettle with water. I'm going to be present when I press that button down. You know, all of these things. And it might seem silly and it seems small, but the kind of compound effect of that is that you will be able to slow down and remind yourself where you are and check, like I said before, check back in with your body, the possibilities, and the present, right? So that's something simple that you can do. And just to kind of recap on the presentation, remind yourself to check back in with your body, focus on the possibilities, not the limitations, trigger yourself into the now, and slow down. That's it from me. I hope that was useful. I welcome any and all questions in the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Hi, Jericho. That was amazing. Some really good tips. I loved the mindfulness practices, the three that you gave at the end. I think they were really, really amazing, and I will definitely be trying them. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed the different kind of the breathing pattern. I never actually thought as that being as a kind of self-care routine. I never actually thought the actual motion of just breathing would be something that could help towards like well-being. So definitely we'll take those tips and use them for myself.
Thank you so much.
So what we'll do now is I am going to, we're going to now start discussing fitness. So I'm going to head over to Maya. And then if anyone has any questions at all, please pop them in and we'll get them, try and get them answered for you.
Showtime. How are you guys? Okay?
Good.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, so first of all, thank you guys for inviting me here. Just to follow on what Jericho said, very happy to be here, very excited to discuss these things. I don't know if anyone who's watching now has me on any social media or anything, but these are the kind of things that I talk about all the time. So when you guys contacted me and was like, we want to talk about this, I was so happy because I literally just uploaded a video on my Instagram, not like about a week before you reached out to me, Sheena. So I was really happy to be here. Some brilliant talks from Rhyana and Jericho already. So I'm hoping I can be the glue to tie this all together and maybe just echo a lot of the good stuff that you guys were saying previously and also add a few more things on. So yeah, I will today be talking about COVID in the pandemic and how to maintain and even build a level of fitness, and is that even possible, and the challenges that come with that, but then also the positives that come with that as well. Like, I really liked what Rhyana said about the reshaping this time as solitude as opposed to isolation. And I, for one, I know I'm not alone on this, but it's a controversial thing to say, but I haven't really been mad about the lockdown period. It's really given me time to recenter myself and really get back to the real, I don't know, like the real crux of what makes me go around. So it's similar to what Jericho said, like it's given me that time to take a minute and focus on who am I being, which I loved, and all the rest of it. So I think it's important, like while we're in this time and horrible things are happening, to focus on the good of this time as well. 2020 has been a whirlwind for all of us, and there is some kind of comfort in that like we've all gone through it, no matter who you are. We've all gone through it. Anyway, and that leads me to health and fitness during COVID-19. And the title of this, or the big thought I've put behind this, is how the restrictions are actually helping us get fitter. Obviously, that's me. And just below there is my Instagram. So I would encourage anyone who's already interested to just have a look at the stuff that I post. And that's a really good way of getting in touch with me as well. So if you wouldn't mind going to the first slide. Okay, so what has happened to our health over lockdown? So I'm going to discuss each of these points one by one, and then hopefully that can shine light on them. So mental health has been delicate. So I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. We've all been going through our own trials through this time. People who are not living with other people especially have really struggled from, you know, the risk of loneliness getting to us. I think we've all realised the benefits of having contact with people. I think, like Rhyana said, as a society we can't thrive isolated. We're not robots. We require human interaction, and I think this time has really shown that. And I think it's come out in people's mental health, and it's come out in people's lack of ability to just get themselves out of things. Like as hard as work and the normal rat race is, it gives you a reason to wake up, and you're forced to be in certain situations, and although that comes with its own issues, you have to get up and you have to just shake off your bad feelings. Although you may not deal with it, you function. Whereas when you are not having to do that and you can work from home, or you can frame your day around you, there's a risk that you can't just shake things off, and you're actually having to face these things that you're struggling with. And again, like, you know, my previous two, I don't know what you would call them, talk colleagues, the two speakers before myself, we're both speaking about, you know, actually getting to your issues and dealing with the things beneath the surface. And I think, you know, as we're all saying, we don't do that enough. We live in a very high-paced society and everything's fast and on to the next thing, and we don't enjoy the now. So in this time, people have had to focus on what is actually at the root of their issues and stopping them from doing things, and what might be things that they're not happy with in their lives, and all of these things. And that's very scary. It's been scary for me. I'm sure it's been scary for loads of people. But if you have the tools, you can actually deal with these things, and this time can be a gift. So yeah, I feel like that's basically just, you know, an explanation of why mental health has been delicate, not to mention how tough it's been for people who are losing family members or going through other issues, and that's made things hard and tough as well. So, mental health and exercise. This isn't a heading, but this is just like a little segue into this. It's no secret that exercise releases endorphins. So what that means is there's a chemical change when you're exercising and when your blood's flowing and your heart rate's increased and all these things are happening, and you are transforming the energy and the hormones that are in your body, which may not be not positive, but they become, there's a release of endorphins, which is a happy feeling and happy emotion and happy hormones within your body. And that's why you leave after every workout feeling pumped and excited or ready to take something on, or if not, you might be tired, but you don't feel as bad as you might have felt when you started. That's the best way of putting it. So I, for one, have noticed, and I've been very, very excited to see that more exercise has been taking place throughout COVID. Now, I've written outside and virtually, but I just think that we need to just accept as a whole, there's just been more exercise, point blank. I think we all saw during, nicer months, there was so many people outside, everyone was going for runs, everyone was cycling. I remember the sky being so much nicer and clearer because there was so less fumes and pollution and less cars, and it was just so lovely for me to see, because as a female and a female-only PT, and I specialise in pre and postnatal PT, so women who are pregnant and after they've had their baby, train them through their pregnancy and thereafter, I'm really passionate about being the change that I wanted to see. So the gym isn't a place that has a high representation of women, let alone women of colour. And it was really nice to see that without the gyms in operation, people were finding a way to actually get their exercise in and get their fitness up and just do something to maybe distract themselves from how they were feeling. And that's another positive point from now. Like, I know the months are colder now and it's getting dark earlier and all the rest of it, but I feel like these good habits that people built up in the warmer months are now seeing them through the colder months. So I was really happy about that, and I was so busy in COVID. I was really lucky that I was one of the people that didn't struggle work-wise, because all my clients were like there on sessions. They wanted to up their sessions maybe. People were reaching out who reached out to me a while ago wanting to start personal training, but then now have found the time to do so because they have the time. And it was a really positive time for people on the whole, in my experience, for reclaiming their exercise. However, the reason that was the case was because people were given the freedom to find what works for them. A lot of the time in, I don't want to say media, but TV, yes, media, TV, magazines, anything that we consume, it's really pushed down our throats that movement or exercise or fitness and health is something that goes hand in hand with privilege. So what I mean by that is, certain diets, certain superfoods, certain nutrition things, certain things that are packaged in such a way that the average person who doesn't earn loads and loads of money, or who is struggling with, having to find childcare to go to these classes and all the rest of it, are not going to be able to achieve all these things that apparently represent health. So I think without having the gyms there as your proof that you're being fit and healthy, people felt a lot more free about how to actually move and what felt best for them. And being a pre and postnatal personal trainer, I use the babies in our sessions. So as soon as your baby can hold its head up, we're using the baby. And that's because this is a real life weight or object that you're going to be having to maneuver, and that is going to affect your body, and you're going to have to squeeze certain muscles, you're going to have to tense certain areas, you're going to have to make sure you stretch certain things. And these are things that we don't take time to do, and we don't invest in making sure that these things are seen to, and therefore there's further complications down the line. So it was nice that in lockdown, because everything was closed, the word invest didn't mean monetary anymore, it meant time. So now it's a lot easier to see how we can actually get our health and fitness up when we're investing the time, not so much the money, because we see it as, oh, I can't get fit because that means I have to go to this gym. That gym costs this amount a month. If I want a really nice gym where there's fresh towels every day, that's going to cost this amount a month. And it's just, I'm not going to bother. And then you end up getting in this cycle. But when that was taken out of the equation, I saw a lot of people flourishing because they just thought, there's no time like now. What am I losing? Everyone's in the same boat. Let's do it. So I was really, really, really happy about that. And I think that's something to really, really be celebrated. And another point I would just make for that is just use that as an example of how fitness doesn't have one rule. It doesn't look one way. It is put to us a lot as being something that only the privileged can achieve and take part in, but that's not the case. Like a single mum who's having to go on the school run and leave her house at a certain time, get all the cooking done, all the cleaning and working, I'm sure she's burning a lot of calories. So it's just about putting things in your actual day, trying not to overwhelm yourself with the idea that you need to be a certain way and things need to look a certain way. It's just, if you've got a spare 30 minutes in your working from home day, in between when you've dropped your kids off and I don't know, you've got your first meeting, maybe in that half an hour, you could do some rigorous cleaning or hoovering or, I don't know, something with some music on in the background and moving around a lot and just getting a sweat on and exaggerating things so that you're burning more calories and upping your heart rate. It's not about joining a fancy gym where you pay loads of money and it's really unsociable hours for the type of things that you need to do and making yourself feel really overwhelmed. That's the wrong way to go about things. Next slide, please. Okay, so like I was saying, the fitness industry is, showing that privilege and fitness go hand in hand. The reasons I just mentioned are the reasons that not enough of us are working out because we feel like we don't fit this lovely glossy image, which I've got on here. We don't look like that. We don't have the same issues as the girls in here. So how can I possibly think that I can justify spending the time and money on fitness in that way? But it doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean that you need to do what these girls are doing. Every little does help. So it's like I said, that little portion of the day that you have free to bang in a half an hour HIIT workout, for example, that's still going to count. And yeah, it's a mind shift change as well. Like we need to stop putting ourselves in the bracket of that's what a certain type of people do. So that's what people who earn that much do, or that's what people who don't have as many responsibilities as me do. It's not about everyone is worthy. We are all worthy of having fitness in our lives. We're all worthy of maintaining a certain standard of health. Although it's packaged to us as not all of us are worthy, that's a lie. We all are. So fitness isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And I think, like I said as well, just to reiterate that lockdown has helped, like I said at the beginning, because this is something none of us could foresee. None of us thought would have the ramifications it's had or go on for as long as it has and is still ongoing. And every single one of us in some way has been affected, whether that be rich people, whether that be people who are frontline workers, whether that be kids, but everyone has been affected. And it's very rare, especially I haven't experienced it in my lifetime, for there to be something that affects all of us that we all know about. There's things that affect us all the time that we don't know about, but this is something that you can't miss. So I feel like lockdown has helped with that, because although all of these glossy images are forced down our throat, we have realised they are also just human and they are also struggling in the same way. So what makes my life less important than them? Do you know what I mean? I think this has just given us all a lot of perspective, which is great. Next slide, please. And a quote that I often think about is just like I said, just because your workout doesn't look like theirs doesn't mean it's pointless. So again, working with mums a lot, it's a lot about confidence and building your confidence to put your best foot forward, really. Like after you've had certain things happen in your life, and we've all had challenges and things that have made us lose our confidence and just knock us, and it's hard to build yourself back up. And this doesn't just apply to fitness, but fitness especially, because fitness is something that you can feel demotivated for, especially when it's not a necessity and it's something that you're doing for vain reasons, maybe like aesthetic reasons. It's easy for you to talk yourself out of it and just think, oh well, if I'm not going to go and do the whole 5-kilometer run and I'm only going to do 15 minutes in my garden, is there any point? No, there's no point. And then you just not bother. And then the day that you're going to start becomes further and further and further away. And I know so many people can relate to what I'm saying right now. But like I said, just because you might not be going to the fancy gym and doing the power plate workout or, the bikes with like funny settings and stuff. You might just be doing a run to school to drop your kids off and a run back. You might burn the same amount of calories as that person in that gym, you know? So it's just, like I said, rewrapping everything and understanding that although things don't look the same, it doesn't mean that they're any less important or any less valid. And another thing I'd say, just as motivation regarding actually getting started on fitness and your exercising routine and stuff, is no matter how much you dread the idea of doing it and how much you put it off and how much you think that it's pointless and you can't be bothered. And I'm only saying this because obviously I have clients and I see what they go through in terms of putting it off and not wanting to, and the steps that they have to take to actually get themselves in a position where they get to start enjoying exercising. You're never going to feel worse after you've done the exercise. You're never going to leave a workout thinking, I shouldn't have done that. Whereas you might stay at home and not do the workout and do something else, like watch Netflix and have a bag of crisps and feel like, I shouldn't have done that, you know? And that's not to shame anyone about anything. I understand that, you know, we all have things that we'd rather do, and I don't have any focus on what we eat, because I feel like if we're expelling enough energy and we're choosing to put our bodies through a certain level of activity, we're then going to naturally make more conscious choices with what we eat. So personally, for like, as a personal trainer, with my approach, it's very much about, let's start you moving and let's start you enjoying the movement and trusting and appreciating how much your body can do, and then the rest will fall into place. So yeah, that wasn't to shame anyone and make you think that you shouldn't have those bag of crisps, but I'm just saying that when you have the thought and all the negative thoughts towards exercising and all the can't be bothered, change that into, after I've done this, I'm going to feel amazing. So let me go and get that feeling instead of this feeling of, I don't want to do it right now. And that's pretty much all from me. I welcome any questions anyone might have, and look forward to hearing.
Hi Maya, that was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. So many tips, so many gems.
Yeah, definitely. I completely relate to a lot of the lot of kind of issues and topics that you spoke about, especially when it comes to kind of seeing how you see your self-image and how that definitely relates to well-being. So yeah, some really great information there.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Great. So what we'll do now, while everyone's still here, we'll see if we can answer some questions, and we'll get everybody into the group. I'll just add everyone in. Situations we're in now with the stresses of losing jobs. How will people be able to manage that kind of stress at the moment? What would your tips and advice be?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what? One of the things that I always say is, let's just look at the facts, right? Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the things that we can actually control, rather than imagining some disaster that may not even happen, right? So, okay, you've lost your job, and what are the things that you can do to start to put yourself in a position where you do have a job? Maybe you could start, I don't know, you might be able to get some benefits from the government, first of all, especially now, right? That might be something you can do. You can start to fix up your CV again. You can use your network, right? Ask around if people are needing it, hiring at the moment. That's something that we've seen a lot, especially on places like LinkedIn. If you just put out into your network, listen, guys, I've lost my job, I've been made redundant, and does anyone have a vacancy for me? Just making sure that you're doing things to put yourself in the position to have a job. Right, that's the only thing that you can really do that is going to be beneficial, right? Because if you start worrying, then that doesn't really help. It might help you in the moment to actually allow yourself to say, okay, I'm acknowledging how I'm feeling. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling worried that I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, and that's perfectly fine. It's almost necessary to do that, first of all. But when you only worry, and when you only focus on what's going wrong, and when you only, do all those things, it's not really going to get you anywhere, right? So there's two things. The first thing is focus on the facts, focus on the things that you can actually do. But also on the other side of that is enjoy whatever else it brings you. Like, right? If you've lost your job, maybe it might be a great time to enjoy what it's like to not have a job for just for a little while, and then you can start to see what else works for you, so that then you can really start to have a life that you enjoy living, rather than living in constant worry and fear of where am I going to get my next job from, right?
Perfect. Thank you. Completely agree. Rhyana, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with Jericho. And just to give a little of a different perspective on it, I'm seeing more and more people step into the realm of entrepreneurship. So even having that pivot, that financial pivot, may be the way forward for you as well. I know myself, I work full time and I have a business. But also getting involved in, for example, community groups. They may have other roles where you can even build experience if you're looking for a different direction as well. Just start planning your life. So like last week, I held a Revision Your Mission vision board session where people could actually start thinking about, is this what I want for myself? I've got all these feelings of change, and is this necessary for me right now? How can I make a difference in order for me to either achieve what I want to do for the rest of this year or pivot? Like, if this is the right time to pivot. I can't stress that enough, because if you're uncertain, then the feeling hasn't come from anywhere, it's come from somewhere. So go with your gut instinct, and just see how best you can be supported, not only just by your family, your community, your friends, and I would say also just kind of use this time for a moment of acceptance as well, because trying to normalize these conversations and feelings is definitely one that's not gonna help you get another job. It's just gonna stress you out. So normalize it, and then you can think clearly about your next steps.
That's right.
Amazing, thank you.
Another one I think that we were told in the Q&A when I put it out on the Instagram was just about sleeping, because I understand like sleeping has a lot to do with our moods as well. Does anyone have any tips in terms of fitness and mental well-being in regards to trying to adapt or trying to create healthy sleeping routines? Shall we start with Maya?
Yeah, so regarding sleep, that's like one of the most common things that not many people know this, but when you're a personal trainer, one of the first questions you ask in a consultation is how many hours of sleep do you get? Because part of muscle repairing and growth is from sleep. You can obviously, grow more and do more to repair your muscles when you've had good sleep. But it's so common for most people to not get good sleep. So obviously you want to range for between 8 to 10 hours a night. That's like luxurious, minimum 7.5. And most people don't have sleep. So I would say it would depend what the issue is. So are you struggling to fall asleep? Can you not stay asleep when you are? Like, what is the issue? And obviously, as these guys will obviously confirm, stress is a huge factor of lack of sleep or poor sleep quality. So obviously you want to find a way to alleviate that stress. And a lot of the time fitness can do that. I remember having clients, and again, that time that you work out is specific to your body. Like, I'd have some clients that could not do anything in the morning. They're not morning people. They can come at lunchtime or after work to like help them wind down. But then some people can only come in the morning because they need to get that burst of adrenaline and endorphins so they can have their day and smash it. So it's just about like working out when best to input some exercise into your daily routine is good for you, because for some people, if you do exercise in the night, it keeps you up even more throughout the night when you try and sleep. But if you do it in the day, it's something that's really good to give you a burst of energy, but then also contribute to helping you fall asleep better in the evening. So as just a ballpoint for that as well, just start exercising at some point throughout your day and gradually build up more, and that will definitely help with your sleep quality, no matter how it is.
Thank you very much.
Rhyana, Jericho, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, sorry. As Maya was speaking about exercising at nighttime, I find exercising at nighttime can tire me out. So for me, I actually developed my own, I call it my sundown self-care routine. So as the sun's going down, what kind of things am I interacting with? How much am I on my phone? What is my environment like? Those kind of things that also contribute to a good sleep hygiene practice as well. So something that I would encourage is, if you are active on your phone, which a lot of us are, put it down put it on the other side of the room, in another room preferably. If you can't, obviously we've all got alarms and things like that, but listen to some slow music, something that has no lyrics, because you're going to end up singing or something along to it, but something that relaxes you. And yeah, just being able to, whether it's like you need a drink of water, have that by you so you don't have to get out of bed again. Just these little tips and tricks that you can do for yourself, so that way you're putting yourself to that calm state of mind. And then when you eventually do drift off to sleep, like Maya said, is the problem that it's drifting off to sleep, or is it staying asleep? Why are you not staying asleep? Is it that you've got overactive mind? Why is that? And start adjusting that if your problem isn't falling asleep. So once you can kind of pinpoint what the issue is, start creating a routine around how you can develop a plan to put some sort of, alleviation in place.
Amazing, thank you very much.
Yeah, I've just got kind of one thing to add on to that, which is an exercise that I learned not too long ago, actually, a breathing exercise that I learned that actually really helps to slow down your heart rate. And when your heart rate is slowed down, your body is actually put into a more of a restful state rather than an awake and a livened state, so to speak. And it's really simple, right? So the idea is that you breathe out for longer than you're breathing in. So for example, if you breathe in for 3 seconds and you breathe out for 6 seconds, what that does is it actually starts to slow your heart rate down. So if you can practice this for like a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes before you lie down, it might be something that helps. And that also works for when you're nervous, when you're anxious, and when you're stressed. So it's a very, very useful practice to have, and something that you can put in your self-care toolkit, as Rhyana so beautifully put.
Amazing, thank you very much, Jericho.
Another question was, for someone who's a newbie to journaling, because I understand journaling is something that kind of goes through a lot, is spoken about a lot. How does one begin to journal if you have no idea and you don't know where to start, and what do I write?
Can I kick this one off, please?
Yes.
This is literally, my first and foremost tip, get more than one journal, okay? Because you're going to write different things in different journals. I have a deep reflective journal, I have a nighttime journal, I have a morning affirmation journal. The reason why I compartmentalize them is because sometimes when you're in a place of gratitude, you don't want to reflect on the deep emotive and thoughtful things. You just want to have the gratitude to reflect on. That's why I would have that one separate. Then again, the deep reflective thoughts, as Jericho was saying before, is, you can look back at where you've come from, the progress you've made, any patterns and anything that you kind of need to fulfill for yourself. But the nighttime journal, I use that literally as I'm in bed and I'm going to sleep. Whatever's in my mind, I can write it down and it's out of my head. I don't have to think about it again. It's just out of me and it's on paper. I can look at it if I want to, but it's just my nighttime thoughts, just in one place, and that's it. So journaling, another tip I'd say, if you really, really struggle with finding something to write about, start using journal prompts. I write journal prompts all the time and I'm happy to share them with anyone as well. But yeah, just try and use a journal prompt that can kind of elicit a writing, so a writing style or writing skill. A lot of the time people can free write journaling, but if you find that difficult, try a journal prompt as well.
Perfect, wonderful.
Just to add to that as well, I live by journaling. I love it so much. It's helped me through so many times, and I feel like for journaling, it's always, again, it's similar to therapy. It's like people do it on the point of crisis, and then they're like doing it and they're half-heartedly doing it. They're like, why is this not working? And it's like, you can't do it now. You've got to do it all the week before this. So I think another thing, just to add to what you said, which was on point, just to make it a bit habitual, especially if you're starting, make it a bit of a task. Like when you're in bed, that 15 minutes you spend on your phone checking your Instagram, put it onto the paper. And also as well, like practicality ways, if I had more than one thing, I would lose it and then I'd be upset I've lost it and it'll be a whole thing. So I've got a journal which actually has all those things you said, like a deep reflective, sunny thoughts, this stuff, like all these different ones in one journal. And I can find the link and put it up and share it with anyone. My cousin got it for me as a present actually. And it's just so handy because the colours of the pages even reflect what you're going to be talking about, and it's just so great. So I really say journaling is excellent just for decluttering your brain. And even though you feel overwhelmed, if you've got it all on a piece of paper, you can work through it and you can actually see what am I actually upset about, because a lot of time we don't know. There's so many things going on in our heads. We don't know what is making you cry right now. And when you write it all down, you know.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah, I thought that was, first of all, what you guys said is beautiful, and I think just to kind of circle back into the question, what would you kind of say to someone who was trying to start, and how to kind of just to approach it? The first thing, the obvious thing, might be just to start one. You know, find a space that you go to that allows you to get into all of those different mindsets, the deep reflecting, the positive affirmations, all these amazing things. Find a space that allows you to get into those mindsets. Don't just do it while you're, for example, I don't know, sitting on the toilet. You know, like, find a space that allows you to get into those mindsets, and just start writing. And the prompts are an amazing thing. But one thing that I found really useful when I first started journaling was, if I just sat down and started writing, then I would actually discover stuff that I wasn't really paying attention to, you know. So it's not, I didn't really put too much thought into it. I just sat down and started writing about my day, and then I found, oh, that's how I've described my day. Like, is that how I was feeling, you know? So for me, it was the act of just getting stuff out, like you were saying, right? Just to get it out of your head, and the act of bringing your thoughts into the world, right? Just getting something out of you. That is one way to kind of facilitate some sort of resolve, rather than letting them cycle inside you. And so, yeah, even if you really were drawn to starting right now, and you're looking at, like, where can I get the most beautiful journal from, and what pen am I going to use? If you really want to start, just grab any piece of paper and just start writing something that is going to mean something to you. And then over time, you'll understand the ways that work for you. Like, there are so many different journal practices which allow you to express yourself in all the different ways that you can. But the best thing is to just to start.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely. That's a great practice. I'm actually starting to realize, even as probably a teen, I was using this method, because it would be like a diary, and you'd write all your thoughts. As a teenager, you're going through so much, and that was the best way to kind of, for me, to deal with the issues that I had. But unfortunately, my mum found it, so that's a different story. But yeah, that was some great information that you guys shared. I'm looking at the time, and I can see that we're really nearly coming to the end of it. But yeah, it's been great. We've had some real positive. I know I could literally talk about this particular subject for ages, because it's something that's everybody goes through. Mental well-being and health is something that is close to everyone's heart, whether you want to address it or not. It's something that's important to all of us. But yeah, again, thank you so much. Everyone's been great. We've had some great interactions. Thank you for everyone who's interacted. And what we'll do now is we'll start with the competition, or the winning bundle. So hopefully whoever it is, they're here. But if not, we have said we will give them 24 hours. So we're just doing it now.
So the winner is
Danny.
Well done, congratulations, Danny. If you are here, could you please drop us a comment in the, I don't know if you're on YouTube or Facebook, but could you drop us a comment to let us know that you're in attendance and that you're following the rules?
Yeah, great. So if you guys want to just say, we've got like less than 10 minutes, if you want to say goodbye, or let everyone know where they can find you. I'll start with Rhyana, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you for having me. I appreciate sharing the platform with these other beautiful, wonderful and knowledgeable presenters as well. Where you can find me is Plan Wholesome Empowerment Group, and that's a Facebook page and Instagram. Got a YouTube page as well, or you can connect with me personally on LinkedIn, which is Rhyana Ebanks-Babb, and a Twitter page as well. Probably all the socials, just search Plan, you'll find me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's pretty much the same for me. I'm predominantly using Instagram for now. That's the best and easiest way to connect with me, at Jericho Bulaun. We'll connect there, and I look forward to meeting a bunch of you.
Amazing.
Yeah, I use Instagram all the time. My website as well, www.whatsmydoing.com, and I'm sure these guys have got websites too. And yeah, DM me or email me. Email is also good, and I would happily work with anyone. I have to mention, I train women only. Sorry guys, and I specify in women who are pregnant or just had a baby. I do train all women anyway, but just that's my speciality. So yeah, get in touch. And also I've put a lot of content. I've been having a lot of Instagram live discussions tackling issues that affect people who look like me, and yeah, I think that you guys might enjoy that as well. So
thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you guys. Just a little lead on. So this is these were a set of 4 series that we were 4 episodes that we were running. This is the 3rd one. We have 1 more in the series, which is education, next week. So yeah, make sure you join in. It's going to be amazing. Like I said, it's going to be just as similar to this setup here, with some great people just like tonight. I hope you all enjoyed it. I definitely will take a lot of notes from here. And yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. See ya.
Take care. Bye bye.